I need to get this off my chest because I feel like I'm going crazy. My husband Andre, 30M, and I, 28F, have been married for 3 years, together for 5. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party where he literally spilled his drink on my new dress and spent the whole night trying to make it up to me. It was cute and clumsy and I fell for his charm right away. He was different from anyone I'd dated before, sweet, attentive, and seemed to really care about making me happy. From the beginning, I knew about Ophelia, 29F, his best friend from college. They met in freshman year when they were paired up for a project and had been inseparable since then. Andre was always open about their friendship and would tell me stories about their college adventures. I never felt threatened because Andre made it clear they were just friends, and Ophelia had never shown any interest in him romantically. They hung out occasionally, but it was always in groups with other college friends. Ophelia started dating Dave 2 years ago. He seemed like a great guy, successful businessman, treated her well, and was understanding of her friendship with Andre. They got married last year in a beautiful ceremony where Andre was one of the groomsmen. Everything seemed perfect. Last month, around 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, our doorbell rang. It was Ophelia, standing there with a small suitcase and tears streaming down her face. Andre immediately pulled her into a hug and brought her inside. She could barely speak through her sobs, but eventually told us that Dave had kicked her out and she had nowhere else to go. Andre didn't even ask me, he just turned to me and said Ophelia would be staying with us for a while. I couldn't say no in that moment with her crying there, so I helped set up the guest room. Andre told me later that night that Dave had always been controlling and had finally shown his true colors. He said Ophelia just needed a week to figure things out and find her own place. The first few days were actually okay. Ophelia mostly kept to herself, spent time looking for apartments online, and was polite but distant with me. She would cook dinner sometimes as a thank you, which I appreciated. But things started changing slowly. I first noticed it when I came home early from work one day and found them sitting really close on the couch, looking at old college photos. They jumped apart when I walked in. Andre explained they were just reminiscing, but something felt off about their body language. Then Ophelia started getting more comfortable around the house, too comfortable. She would walk around in tiny shorts and tank tops or come out of the bathroom wrapped in just a towel, always when Andre was around. She started cooking elaborate breakfasts just for Andre because she remembered his favorites from college. They developed this annoying habit of finishing each other's sentences and laughing at inside jokes I wasn't part of. Whenever I brought up the topic of her moving out, Andre would get defensive. He'd say things like she's going through trauma or we can't just abandon her. But he never pushed her to actually look for a place. A week turned into 2, then 3, then a full month. Our house isn't tiny, but it felt cramped with her constant presence. The worst part was how Andre started changing. He began staying up late with her after I went to bed, claiming they were just catching up. He stopped sharing details about his day with me, but I could hear him telling Ophelia everything. They would go grocery shopping together because Ophelia knows what I like. It was like I was becoming a guest in my own marriage. After a month of this, I decided enough was enough. I waited for a day when Andre was working late and sat down with Ophelia. I wanted to understand what really happened with Dave and why she wasn't making any effort to move out. But as soon as I mentioned Dave's name, she got defensive. She kept saying vague things like he's cruel and you don't know what he's capable of. When I asked if she was planning to file for divorce or try to work things out, she snapped at me and said it wasn't my business. Her reaction bothered me enough that I decided to do some digging. I found Dave on Facebook and sent him a message explaining the situation. His response changed everything. He sent me screenshots of conversations between Andre and Ophelia from months ago. They had been having an affair for over 6 months before Ophelia's wedding to Dave. The messages were explicit and left no room for doubt. There were photos of them together in hotel rooms, messages planning their meetups, and discussions about their feelings for each other. When I confronted Andre with the evidence, he didn't even try to deny it. He broke down and admitted everything. Apparently, they had always had feelings for each other but never acted on them until last year. When Ophelia got engaged to Dave, they started meeting in secret. Andre claimed he ended things before her wedding because he chose me, but the messages showed they were still in contact right up until she showed up at our door. The most painful part was calling my in-laws. I thought they would be as shocked and disgusted as I was. Instead, they already knew about the affair. Andre had been telling them for weeks that I was a controlling wife who was jealous of his friendship with Ophelia. He painted me as the villain who was trying to destroy their special bond. His parents suggested that I should be the one to move out and give them space to figure things out. I packed my bags that night and went to stay with my sister. I couldn't believe how quickly my entire life had fallen apart. The man I thought I knew, the marriage I thought was solid, it was all built on lies. I contacted a divorce lawyer first thing the next morning. The worst part is that I keep thinking about all the signs I ignored. The late night texts he would hide from me, the times he would go out for work drinks but come home smelling like her perfume, the way they would look at each other when they thought I wasn't watching. I feel like such an idiot for letting her into our home, for trying to be the understanding wife. Never again. Update 1: A lot has happened since my last post, and honestly, things have gotten so much worse than I imagined. After I left that night, Andre started bombarding me with calls and messages. He would switch between begging me to come back and accusing me of overreacting. The messages ranged from "I love you, please let me explain" to "you're throwing away our marriage over nothing." The worst part? Ophelia was still living in our house while he was sending these messages. My sister has been amazing through all of this. She let me stay in her guest room and has been helping me deal with everything. One night, after a particularly nasty message from Andre, she suggested we try to get into his email. She works in IT and said she could help me access it. I know it wasn't exactly legal, but at that point, I needed to know the full truth. What we found made me physically sick. There were hundreds of emails between Andre and Ophelia going back over a year. Their affair hadn't just been some brief mistake, it was a carefully planned deception. They had been seeing each other the entire time, even after Ophelia's wedding to Dave. The emails revealed their whole twisted plan. Ophelia had deliberately married Dave despite being with Andre. In her emails, she talked about how Dave's family money could set her up for life. She and Andre had planned everything. They would wait a few months after her wedding, then she would start telling people Dave was abusive. They knew everyone would sympathize with her and not question when she left him. Andre had even helped her create a list of things to say about Dave to make him sound controlling and cruel. The most devastating emails were the ones about me. They had literally strategized how to manipulate me into letting her stay. Andre gave her detailed instructions about how to act around me. He told her to seem distant at first, then gradually become more comfortable. He advised her on what sob stories would make me feel guilty about wanting her to leave. There were emails where they laughed about how I believed everything. They had even discussed their future plans. Once I was out of the picture, they would wait a respectable amount of time, then start dating publicly. Ophelia would play the victim who found comfort in her best friend after escaping an abusive marriage, and Andre would be the supportive friend who helped her heal. They had thought of everything. Reading those emails broke something in me. Every memory of the past month took on a new, darker meaning. All those times I caught them sitting close together, they were probably laughing at how naive I was. Every time Andre defended her staying with us, he was following their script. Even the way Ophelia would dress provocatively around him, it was all calculated to push my buttons while making me seem like the unreasonable one. I forwarded all the emails to myself and then sent them to my in-laws. Andre's mom called me crying, saying she had no idea how deep the deception went. She apologized for believing Andre's lies about me being controlling. His dad also called to apologize, saying they should have seen through Andre's stories. But honestly, their apologies mean nothing now. They chose to believe the worst about me without even asking for my side of the story. The emails also revealed something else. Ophelia had been taking money from Dave's accounts before she left. She had been slowly transferring small amounts to a secret account, building up a nest egg for herself. When I told my lawyer about this, she said this information could be useful not only for my divorce but also for Dave if he decides to press charges. Andre finally realized I had accessed his email when I confronted him with specific details from their conversations. He completely lost it. He started sending threatening messages about suing me for invasion of privacy. His last message said I would regret making an enemy of him. I've saved everything and given copies to my lawyer. Ophelia, meanwhile, has been posting on social media about being a survivor of domestic abuse and how grateful she is for having such supportive friends. Several mutual friends have taken her side, painting me as the bitter wife who couldn't handle my husband having a close female friend. It's infuriating to see her playing the victim when I have proof of her lies, but my lawyer advised me not to engage or share the emails publicly yet. I'm staying with my sister for now and trying to figure out my next steps. My lawyer says I have a strong case for divorce given the evidence of infidelity, but she warned me it could get messy. Andre has already hired an aggressive divorce attorney known for dragging things out. The hardest part is dealing with the loneliness. I lost not just my husband, but also several friends who believed his version of events. Some nights, I still catch myself reaching for my phone to text him about something funny that happened during my day, only to remember that the man I thought I was married to never really existed. He was just playing a role, and I was too trusting to see through it. At least now I know the truth. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more gaslighting. I'm done being the understanding wife who ignores red flags in the name of trust. Never again. Update 2: The divorce proceedings have started, and everything is just as ugly as I expected. Andre's lawyer is trying to paint me as an unstable, paranoid wife who invaded his privacy and abandoned our marriage without cause. They're arguing that accessing his emails was illegal and any evidence I found shouldn't be admissible in court. Andre is also claiming that I left him, so he shouldn't have to pay me anything in the settlement. But karma really does come back around. Last week, I received a message from Dave, Ophelia's husband. He had seen some of Ophelia's social media posts about being an abuse survivor and wanted to set the record straight. We met for coffee, and what he told me changed everything. Ophelia is still legally married to Dave. She never filed for divorce because she doesn't want to lose her claim to his family's money. Apparently, she's been lying to Andre about this the whole time. She kept telling him she was working with a lawyer and the paperwork was in process, but she hasn't taken any legal steps at all. Dave showed me proof that Ophelia has done this before. Andre wasn't her first affair, she had cheated on Dave with 2 other men in their first year of marriage. Each time, she would create drama about Dave being controlling or abusive, disappear for a few weeks, then come crawling back when she needed money. Dave had been gathering evidence for months, planning to divorce her, when she suddenly left and moved in with us. The most shocking part was finding out about Ophelia's financial situation. She had maxed out all their joint credit cards before leaving Dave. She had also been stealing from his business accounts, way more than what I had found in the emails. Dave's lawyers are building a case against her for financial fraud. When I got home from meeting Dave, I had multiple missed calls from Andre. Someone had seen me with Dave and told him. He showed up at my sister's house that night, completely unhinged. He was screaming about how I was conspiring with Dave to ruin Ophelia's life, how I was just jealous because Ophelia was everything I could never be. My sister had to call the police to get him to leave. We filed for a restraining order the next day. The next twist came when Dave's lawyer contacted mine. They offered to share all their evidence about Ophelia's past affairs and financial fraud for my divorce case. In return, they wanted my copies of the emails between Andre and Ophelia. It turns out those emails proved that Ophelia was mentally competent and deliberately planning to defraud Dave, which destroys her claims about being a domestic abuse victim. Andre must have found out about this deal because he sent his mother to talk to me. She tried to guilt-trip me about destroying Ophelia's life and ruining any chance of Andre having a future career. He's a financial advisor, and fraud allegations could cost him his license. She begged me to settle quietly and let them move on with their lives. I told her she should have thought about consequences when she supported their lies about me. The truth about Ophelia's other affairs hit Andre hard. He finally saw her for who she really was, a con artist who had played him just like she played everyone else. He tried to kick her out of our house, but she refused to leave. Now they're stuck living together because neither one has anywhere else to go. According to mutual friends, they fight constantly and blame each other for ruining their lives. My lawyer says we have an incredibly strong case now. Between the emails proving their affair and conspiracy, the evidence from Dave about Ophelia's pattern of fraud, and Andre's violent outburst at my sister's house, she thinks we can get a very favorable settlement. The whole situation is a mess, but I finally feel like I'm on solid ground. Some days I still can't believe how thoroughly Andre and Ophelia deceived everyone. They threw away their marriages, their reputations, and probably their careers, all for a relationship built on lies. And the worst part is, they're still lying, just to different people now. Dave and I have become unexpected allies in this chaos. We're both dealing with the aftermath of loving people who never really existed, just masks they wore to get what they wanted. At least now we can see them for who they really are. Update 3: The divorce is finally settled, and I can hardly believe everything that's happened since my last update. With the combined evidence from Dave and the emails we found, my lawyer was able to negotiate a settlement heavily in my favor. I got the house, half of our savings, and Andre had to pay my legal fees. The most satisfying part was watching Ophelia's perfect victim narrative completely fall apart. When Dave's lawyers presented evidence of her financial fraud, she tried to claim she had been forced to take the money because she was afraid of him. Then they showed the emails where she bragged to Andre about stealing from Dave's accounts and planning their future together. Her own words destroyed any credibility she had left. Ophelia finally showed her true colors when she realized Andre wasn't as wealthy as she thought. During the divorce proceedings, our financial statements became public record. Turns out, Andre had been lying to her about his savings and investments to impress her. When she found out he was actually in debt from spending money on their affair, she completely turned on him. Last week, Ophelia moved out of our house and tried to go back to Dave, claiming she had made a horrible mistake and wanted to work on their marriage. Dave just laughed and had his lawyer serve her with divorce papers. Now she's living in a cheap apartment and working as a waitress, quite a change from the luxury lifestyle she was used to with Dave. Andre isn't doing much better. He lost his job when his firm found out about the fraud allegations. Apparently, some of their meetups during work hours violated company policy, and he had used his work computer to plan their affair. He's living with his parents and working at his dad's hardware store. He still tries to contact me through mutual friends, sending messages about how he misses me and made the biggest mistake of his life. I sold the house, couldn't stand living there with all those memories. I used the money to buy a small condo in a different city where I got a great job offer. Some of our old friends tried to convince me to give Andre another chance. They said people make mistakes and deserve forgiveness. One even suggested that this whole experience might have made him a better person. I blocked every single one of them. The only good thing that came out of this mess is my friendship with Dave. We meet for coffee sometimes and laugh about how blind we both were. He's doing well, his business is thriving now that affiliate isn't secretly draining the accounts, and he started dating someone new who seems genuinely nice. My in-laws still try to reach out occasionally. They want to maintain a relationship because I was like a daughter to them. I remind them how quickly they turned on their daughter when Andre painted me as the villain, and that usually shuts them up. Some relationships aren't worth saving. I'm still angry sometimes when I think about everything that happened, but mostly I'm just relieved. Going completely no contact with Andre and his family was the best decision I ever made. I'm focusing on my new job, making new friends, and rebuilding my life without all their drama and lies. The other day, I found an old photo of Andre and me from our wedding. We looked so happy, so in love. I finally threw it away. That man never really existed, he was just playing a part, and I was fool enough to believe it. But I'm not that naive girl anymore, and I'll never let anyone manipulate me like that again.